Hi, guys, and thanks for tuning in. Once again, I find myself in some good company. I am sitting here with my favorite doctor, as I always like to say, Dr. Isaac Balbin. Welcome from Parsl. And I guess today, Isaac, we've done an interview about what Parsl is about. We've done an interview about your reward drop, and then today we're going to sit down and talk about tokenomics of Parsl. As always, is it possible to just kind of give like a brief overview of what exactly Parsl is and how it works?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matt. And always a pleasure to be here. So Parsl is a supply chain technology platform that is being purpose-built for the cannabis industry.
Awesome. Now, of course, I'm quite familiar with your token economy. And you have kind of like this dual token economy, which I think is becoming it's becoming a lot more popular these days. And we'll probably dig into kind of the secondary token in a little bit here. But I think, first of all, of course, your primary token is seed. What are kind of, the use cases for this utility token?
So the primary use case of seed is to be able to allow platform clients access to be able to use the Parsl system. But, on top of that, the cannabis industry, as everyone knows, is really growing. It's a new industry. It's quite a special industry in that it's actually able to bring people out of working in a black market supply chain into a legal supply chain. And we want to enable the community to be able to share in the tremendous growth opportunities that are there. And we want to prove that free market economic principles will actually play a major part in helping people do the right thing and get a real direct economic benefit out of it. So I guess that's really the main thing that Seed's all about.
Yeah, how does it work? Like, what exactly will people use the seed token for? And what are kind of the, essentially the use cases for this utility token? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, so when people are using the Parsl platform as business users, they need to pay a subscription fee to have access to the platform. That subscription fee is paid in seed token. It's actually, the price is set in a normal fiat currency, but people can pay with either fiat or any other crypto, and we will convert that to an equivalent amount of seed that those users have to pay to access the platform.
That's fair. I understand that you guys it's kind of more of an inflationary asset. There's an inflation rate to seed. How exactly does that work?
Well, that's right. So seed inflates at 5% per annum. And what we actually do is for seed token holders that are staking their tokens, they're actually entitled to half of that inflation. I mean, the way that we really like to think about this is we want to reward our token holders because they deserve it.
For sure. Yeah. And of course, we talked about kind of the reward drop previously. And I know that some of the rewards for holding these tokens during the initial phase are kind of a series of consecutive drops into your EOS account based on the amount of seed tokens that you have, which is kind of a fair distribution platform with, of course, some bonuses going into like the top 5% and the top 25%. I know we kind of went through this before. What are some of the benefits of following this airdrop period where everybody's collecting seed into their EOS account? When the platform actually goes live, one of the benefits is going to be, as you kind of already talked about, it's going to be staking to receive a percentage of inflation.
Well, that's right. So tokens that are staked are able to receive a percentage of inflation, but not only that, there are real funds being paid and coming into the system, and they come into Parsl. We use that to fund the operation of the business, do all of the things that we've got to pay for inside of the business. And then with what's left over, we actually take 1/3 of that and distribute it back to our token holders.
Nice. And that's actually through two mechanisms, as I understand it, right? You've got a return, a reward based on inflation, and then a reward based on the subscription fees itself, right? I think the one thing that a lot of people want to know is why blockchain? Like that's one of the questions that I often ask people. Like, why do we want to tokenize this? Why is seed a token? Why not just like use cash? What are the benefits here?
So one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that what Parsl is actually doing is changing the way that people think about a supply chain. Now, I think, we covered it in one of the other podcasts, but to enable, that's only able to be enabled through the power and beauty of what blockchain technology brings to the table. That's only made practically realizable because of the tremendous power of the EOS.io code and platform. It's one of the things that we've got to remember. Whenever we've got movement of a currency within our system, we have a direct association with a full product lifecycle for every product that's being purchased in that transaction. And that's something that's only possible through the use of blockchain. On top of that, we're able to provide a number of other value adds because, as I mentioned, we're trying to enable the global supply chain of cannabis here, and we can make that a much more efficient and cheap process through the use of our system. I mean, with our tokens, there are no fees for crossing borders. The transactions are instantaneous, and listen, that's just not possible with paper money, is it?
No, it's not. I really do want to discuss some of the other reasons, kind of why it's a little bit better tokenized, because you brought up some really interesting things to me, but maybe we'll dig into the other token and then we'll just kind of talk about the benefits overall of a tokenized economy. Let's talk about kind of the second token. I understand you have like a little bit of a stable token. It's called pods. How does that work? Why tokenize pods? And then maybe we can kind of tie it all together and talk about the benefits of using tokens over cash. Because I remember from our last discussion, there were quite a few, and they range from ease of transferability to tracking to one of the ones that I'm most intrigued by, which is actually security.
Well, that's right. Security and safety. I mean, businesses are spending money dealing with a lot of cost. For example, trying to prevent internal theft. When we're using the pods to be able to run their business, that's simply not an issue. Similarly, the ease with which funds are able to be transferred between users and the transparency with which the whole industry is able to operate is something that's only able to be achieved when we deploy a stable coin like pods. I mean, within a supply chain businesses need to have certainty when they're operating. Yeah. And I think that's something that we can actually deliver through the pod cryptocurrency, because no one can take that away. People have what they have. We have appropriate dispute resolution to ensure that funds are protected. And there is no risk of, someone coming in and locking up the funds of a business and allowing it to essentially wilter and die because some regulator got scared. In fact, through the use of this, there shouldn't actually be any need for regulators to get scared, because their job becomes so much simpler, and they're able to work in a way that they don't face the same obstacles that they have trawling through records that only forensic accountants are able to look through. Everything is clear and transparent, while we're also protecting people's privacy, which is, of course, absolutely critical.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think like some of the things that really hooked me and kind of made me think about the reason why you would tokenize something like this is you even talked about kind of protection from improper law enforcement, right? If this is being traced throughout the blockchain, you pull up your app on your phone. Listen, this is where it came from. Here's my license. This is the amount that I was supposed to have. You know what I mean? Whatever else it might be. And then I thought that was really interesting too. And of course, we talked about the fact that a lot of people in the cannabis supply industry right now move maybe half their stuff on the market and half their stuff on the black market, which is kind of one of the problems when it comes to regulations and the way that we're trying to regulate an industry. And then when assets are kind of disappearing and they go to the black market, at least in this sense, everything's trackable, it's traceable. Nobody's going to get attacked or anything like that or robbed. It's very transparent. And you also kind of mentioned that cannabis companies sometimes have issues getting bank accounts, paying employees, and all these kind of things, just because it's kind of the stigma of this particular industry, even though it's kind of rising into legitimacy. I thought that was a really interesting point as well.
And even people that are trying to invest into cannabis businesses. I mean, as I sort of said, this is a growing, thriving industry, and we don't want to create the same issues that we've seen in the pharmaceutical industries with the humongous corporations that have come about there. And look, there are some upsides to the way things have happened, but that obviously comes with a lot of downside. We want everyone to be able to share in the upside of all of this. So we're really trying to facilitate that. And look, at the same time, we're protecting people from nefarious law enforcement activity, but at the same time, most of the people in law enforcement are good guys. We're helping them do their job easier, because a lot of the time, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And how are they going to know when they pull someone over on the side of the road if that person has complied with the law? Because that person simply doesn't have a way to be able to prove it, and the law enforcement officer doesn't have a way to verify it. So, all the way from street interactions between people and law enforcement, and even regulators coming in over the top, ensuring that, people are abiding by their licensing restrictions or whatever it is. We're just trying to help people who do the right thing get a real and direct benefit.
Yeah, and it's just a budding, that's kind of a pun, I guess, but it is a budding industry. That wasn't intentional, but we'll run with it. I think it's kind of a cool way to provide some legitimacy right from the grower right to the user's hands, essentially. Let's talk about kind of the third token in this economy, which is a little bit different, reward points.
Yeah, so look, reward points are a great way that we've got to be able to incentivize end users to also jump on and participate in the system and get a real and direct benefit, as I've mentioned before. I mean, they're not going to be directly benefiting from, the cost of compliance going down for dispensaries, growers, processors, transporters, distributors, and whoever else. And so we want to give them something that is tangible in their hands that they're going to be able to use to go out with and redeem for the product that they're already going out there to get. So we facilitate that through reward points. We allow businesses to stock the Parsl Reward Shop, which is where end users redeem their reward points, with great cannabis products that they want to potentially promote and market. But I mean, at the same time, we've got non-cannabis products up in that reward shop as well.
I love it. Isaac, I'm a fan of the project. I think it's really cool what you guys are doing. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing how it all works. If you were to kind of describe how the transition goes, you know what I mean? From kind of the grower to, I know it's more of a complex model. You built a really, really cool document that I'm going to link to in this video below, which really kind of breaks down why pods, why seed, why tokenize, why blockchain. Like it's a really cool document. So I'm going to link to that below. But how does kind of the cycle work from maybe the grower all the way to the end user?
Yeah, so if we talk about, from a product perspective, a grower will sign up to use the Parsl platform, and they'll buy smart packaging, with being one of the core pillars of the platform. And then they'll start putting the product that they've grown into that packaging. They then hand that over to a transporter who hands it over to, either a processor or a distributor or a dispensary, in some cases directly to the end user. And I mean, that's also one of the great things that we built our system to be able to facilitate the supply chain globally, whether it's in the Canadian market, in various states in the US market, in the Australian market, the European market. As we sort of said earlier, we don't want anyone on planet Earth to miss out on this. So we built it to be able to facilitate all of those things simultaneously. So the product then moves through to the end user. Now that end user, rather than having to walk around with cash, which is often a little bit of a safety risk, they go on to the Parsl platform and they convert either cryptocurrency or fiat into pods, and then they use those pods to purchase their cannabis. Those same pods are then transferred back across that supply chain. So the dispensary will pay their supplier, whether it's the distributor maybe, or the distributor will then pay the processor will pay the grower, until that grower is and all of the businesses have accumulated enough pods and they want to cash out of the system, and they're able to do that via the Parsl Treasury. Now, the great thing is that when we're doing this and we're talking to businesses about the tremendous benefits we're able to bring about with, blockchain and cryptocurrency, we're able to provide them assurance that we're 100% liquid with that stable coin. It's not something where there's any sort of a risk in operating in that currency. So they know that when they need to cash out, they can do so. And I think it's tremendously important for adoption, which is something that we're really trying to keep in mind and focus on.
Isaac, I won't keep you anymore. I'm looking forward to continuing to do updates with you in the future. Parsl is interesting to me. It's a very cool use for two emerging industries, which are kind of, they're looking for that legitimacy, and they're here to stay. So it's just the two stories of the industries coming together is it's intriguing to me, and I really enjoy chatting with you. I really enjoy your project, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, and take it easy.
You too, my friend.